Hello everyone, welcome to another video. We thought we'd just jump on and follow up from the birth story video. Now, if you haven't watched that video, I suggest that you watch that one first, as otherwise this one's not really going to make that much sense. And I'll put a link in the comments so that you can find that video easily. Yeah, so I thought I'd just pick up where I left off, really. So Astrid was taken to NICU. Now, we spent a total of 6 weeks in NICU. And the first place that we were in was the neonatal intensive care. While Astrid was in intensive care, she was ventilated and intubated. So the machines were kind of breathing for her, and that she stayed on that for about a week before they managed to successfully extubate her. During the first kind of 48 hours, she had 7 blood transfusions. So 4 of those were red blood cells. 1 of those was of fresh frozen plasma, 1 was of albumin, and 2 were of platelets. This was all because when she was born, as I mentioned before, she was born severely anemic. So Astrid was born with 1/3 of the blood volume that she should have had, which means 2/3 of it had gone. So her body was kind of really struggling. And because of that, because of the lack of blood flow, she was in multi-organ failure. So all of her organs had to be kind of kick-started, really. So she needed medications to help her kidneys work, wake up her liver. She had some stimulations for her heart. I think in total, my memory might be a bit dusty, but in total during her time in NICU, they administered over 29 different medications to do different things. What are you staring at? Hey? You're staring at? Yes, that it's really hard to watch something like that from your child, to go through something like that, because you can't help, and the whole time she's there in her little box, and all you can do is stroke her. Astrid was 10 days old before we were allowed to give her a cuddle, and even then it was kind of, we shouldn't really be letting you cuddle her yet, but we're not sure like what her prognosis is, so cuddle her. When she was, I think, maybe 2 or 3 days old, we got her christened in NICU. The hospital chaplain came and performed a very intimate christening. It was just myself and my husband Ben and Astrid that were present for that. We felt like it was, because we weren't sure if we were going to lose her, we just wanted to make sure that she had the best people looking out for her on the other side. Didn't we? And that's quite a hard thing to have to process, is that, you know, we might only have a couple of days here. So I don't think I really left her side for the first 5 days. And then her condition kind of started to stabilise. I mean, she was still in ITU and she was still having lots of care, and still needed kind of one-to-one nursing. The consultants were there working on her all the time, but it seemed to kind of stabilise. And then gradually care was kind of stepped down. She had an NG tube put in, and they started to give her my milk, because at this point I felt like there was nothing I could do to help her except express. So I think I could have fed the whole unit at that point. I'll put a picture in of our freezer when we got home of how full of the breast milk it was. Like, I just turned myself into a cow. But yeah, so she had, tubes coming out of everywhere. She had IV cannulas, she had arterial lines, she had central lines, she had a catheter at one point, and she also had CFM, which is like, they put probes all over her head and they were monitoring her brain activity and her brain waves to see if there was anything going on, which it was very quickly adamant that there wasn't much going on. And at that point they requested for an MRI. But for a newborn MRI she needed to be term. So Astrid was born at 34 plus 2 and they needed her to be 37 plus weeks. So they waited until she was 21 days old before we got her MRI. And our MRI told us what we already knew, really, which was that she has HIE. And I think the topic of HIE is quite a big topic, so I think I'll talk about that in another video. But basically, yeah, that's Astrid's primary condition is grade 3 HIE, which is all to do with her brain. But yeah, slowly the wires started to come off. She then went from a ventilator to CPAP, which is kind of like a step down of oxygen. She only needed that for 2 days. We came out of ITU into high dependency. We spent 10 days in high dependency, kind of slowly trying to wean her off monitors and off of drug food and get her onto milk and just kind of try and normalise her a little bit. And then once she came off high flow, so she was on high flow for 2 days, I think. And then when she went onto normal oxygen, she went into the special care baby unit. We were there for 16 days. And then it was just a case, her main issues were, she was hanging on to that last little bit of oxygen. We needed to kind of build up her tolerance to feeding, so they wanted her to be fed 3 to 4 hourly. And it was a case of getting her tummy to tolerate that without her being sick. And thermoregulation, because she was always cold. If you look at any pictures of Astrid when she was a tiny baby, she's in about 1 billion blankets. Yeah, it was quite a task to keep this little lady warm. But yeah, after that, I think it was 2 days before her due date, we came home. So the 11th of February 2023 was Astrid's come home day, and there we started our journey on this very unknown road. And here we are. But we've got a lot to thank NICU for. The nurses were absolutely incredible. And the doctors, I mean, they're the reason she is here. They are they worked tirelessly. One consultant didn't leave her side for over 24 hours. I'm in awe of them. They are heroes. Honestly, I cannot thank them enough for my gratitude for this little gorgeous one. Hey?